Howdy do y'all, this is John, and today we are talking about Sight, a new movie out in theaters right now. And in Sight, it deals with this doctor who discovers this young blind girl and decides to do whatever he can for her to get this very complicated reconstructive eye surgery so she can see again. Because that's kind of what he does for a living. He does reconstructive eye surgery, so blind people can see. Okay, so to get things started, first and foremost, what I liked about the movie, I think that at least the idea of it is pretty wholesome. It's about this guy trying to do whatever he can to help a young girl because she has, this serious problem. She's blind and not by birth. When you hear about what, happened that caused her to be blind, you're just immediately appalled because she was not born blind. She had acid thrown into her eyes. So the idea of this guy trying to do whatever he can to help this little girl out, that's pretty wholesome. And in terms of the acting is pretty decent. Larry Chen, who portrays Ming Wan, the doctor trying to help this little girl, he does a pretty decent job. They do eventually show the real Ming Wan, and you hear his voice. And believe it or not, Larry does a pretty decent job at trying to sound like Ming. I wouldn't say it's exact, of course, but he does a decent job. And in terms of the fact that they at least tried to make a good movie, that is good. Because you can tell they're at least trying their best to make a good movie. From a technical standpoint, it's pretty well made. The film's light and wholesome when it needs to be. The film's dark and kind of gritty when it needs to be. One of the big problems that I have with the movie, though, is that it did not need to be a movie. It just needed to be like this hour-long episode of an HBO series about unsung heroes. That's all it needed to be. So honestly, it just kind of felt like there wasn't enough of a story to justify an hour, 40-something odd minute movie. Much of a hero as Ming Wan technically is, something like this just lends itself to be more of a TV show episode rather than a movie. And because of that issue, we also go into another issue, which is it's just not that involving. Not that involving because there's quite a bit of obvious filler in the film. There are shots in this movie that literally linger for too long because they're just trying to pad out the runtime a little bit. It's also this unnecessary, romantic subplot in the film about Ming and this bartender lady that just did not need to be in the movie. It just didn't, because it just added nothing to it. Also, these flashbacks to Ming's youth, him growing up and stuff. And to an extent, I can see why it's there, all the way up to the certain point in the flashbacks, but after that, it was just unnecessary. Everything up to this moment where Ming's, childhood friend gets kidnapped by communists in China, I can see all that being necessary, but everything afterwards was not. So at the end of the day, Sight, they tried. They did. I commend them for that. But it's just not good. It's wholesome. Yes, there's a decent message in it. The acting's, decent. The biggest issues that this movie had is just it's not that involving or entertaining. The writing, unfortunately, just hampers it significantly. I will say this though, if I was given the choice of either watching this again or watching Garfield again, I'd rather choose this, but it doesn't mean it's good, or I think it's good. I'm going to give Sight of 4. That's all the time I have for today. Please hit the like button if you enjoyed this video. Please also subscribe if you're new to the channel. And as always, please remember, the Podetsky will return.